What we're talking about today is the metaverse, but I'm going to talk today about what it means for businesses. Is it just something that social media companies need to be concerned about, or should you be concerned about it? According to Apple CEO Tim Cook, he said this: "Life without AR will soon be unthinkable." It's kind of an interesting quote. Now, you could probably debate what soon means, but it's already affecting people. So whether it's a short-term or a long-term prediction, companies do need to be ready, right? Where and how are you going to advertise? How are you going to use it to service your customers? So I'm going to be discussing some of those topics today. As you know, I'm Michael Knet. I'm CEO, founder of Eternal Networks, and I do go live every week on our social media pages at 1 o'clock to discuss tech and cybersecurity that might affect you and your business. So if you're here, if you're watching, you have any questions live, I'll cover them at the end rather than interrupting as we're chatting about stuff. So have those ready. And I always like to talk about some things from the news. So a couple of things from the news, and I won't go too deep into any of them, but CISA, the Center for Internet Security in the United States, warned that there's a critical Citrix share file flaw that's being exploited in the wild. So if you're using Citrix share file or you have that in your organization, it's important that you talk to your IT provider or your IT department. Make sure that they're aware of this flaw that's being exploited and that you're taking the steps necessary to mitigate that, to protect your data. Another interesting one, many people may not be aware of this, but the dark web has all kinds of nefarious data, including sites where you can go and buy usernames and passwords and access to systems. There's a hacker group that claims to have breached a major multi-billion-dollar auction house, and they're offering access, back-end access, for $120,000, rather than exploiting it themselves and attacking the site and trying to get a ransom or stealing data or whatever they're doing. They're selling it first person or organization that'll pay the fee. So common practice, but typically it's not very typical that you see somebody asking $120,000 for credentials and for access to systems. Another big one, I talked about the Missouri Medicaid users had their data exposed to the recent MOVEit mass hack from June and July. And guess what? Colorado Department of Healthcare, who manages Colorado Medicaid, says that they were also a victim in the mass hacks. The data of more than 4 million patients was exposed, including all of their healthcare data, Social Security, birth dates, address. I mean, pretty much you name it. If they had it, it was exposed. So more and more, while the largest breach may not be each of these individual organizations, this MOVEit data breach has quickly become massive in the exposure of credentials and information and data of users around the world, and specifically around the United States was the largest impacted. So let's get back to our topic, which is the metaverse. And the metaverse is not, many of you probably know, Facebook rebranded, their parent company now is called Meta, short for Metaverse. So when we're talking about Metaverse, we're not talking about Meta, the company, Facebook, right? We're talking about a broader concept, not a capitalized metaverse, a lowercase metaverse. So essentially what the metaverse is it's an upgraded 3D virtual internet environment, a virtual world, a network of interconnected sites that resemble immersive games. If anybody had seen the movie or read the book Ready Player One, I will say the book is much better than the movie, but the movie is good. It's worth seeing. That's kind of the idea, right? They put on their headset, they put on their gear, and they enter this virtual world where they can interact with other people and other businesses and other things. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the metaverse. Did Facebook or Meta create the metaverse? No, not really, right? The idea of this has been around for decades. Online gaming companies have ventured into it through their applications were a little less interconnected, right? World of Warcraft was massive. I think it's still pretty large. Millions of users around the world that can go into this virtual world, but it's a virtual game world. When we're talking about the metaverse, we're talking about a much larger world. Adobe Atmosphere is another great early example. This was a short-lived software featured interconnected 3D world where there was social chatting. It's kind of an early glimpse of the metaverse concept. So now the question is, why the sudden buzz? If it's been around for decades in the concept and and some various smaller versions of it have been out there. Why all of a sudden is it in the news? Well, the biggest thing is technology has finally caught up with the ideas that have been around for that long. All right, we've got much faster internet. We have much more powerful processors. We have easy access to 3D for most computers. As we start seeing more virtual reality headsets, right? Technology is finally able to do some of the ideas and some of the things within this concept. Are we fully there yet? No, we're definitely not, but we're gaining momentum, right? As technology continues to advance, we're gonna get more and more into this. Recently, Microsoft and Meta have teamed up. They're integrating Microsoft 365 apps into the Metaverse, into Meta's Metaverse, for some new age collaboration. Interestingly, recent study says that 50% of Gen Z and millennials foresee working in the Metaverse within the next 2 years. So how does the Metaverse impact you and your company, right? With companies like Microsoft looking at the future of AR, and when we say AR, we're talking about augmented reality and VR, virtual reality. So Microsoft's looking at the future of these two areas and investing heavily in it, as are other large corporations. So you can expect that the Metaverse is eventually going to touch your company in some way over the next several years. So here's a preview of some ways that it might impact you and some things that you should be considering. First, advertising in the Metaverse. Back in the early days of the internet, companies vastly underestimated the potential for advertising on the internet. Now a website is a must-have. Right? If you don't have a website, you're going to miss out on a lot of business opportunities, because many people, the first thing they do, right, when they're researching a company, is to go online and try to find out about them and their services. So if the Metaverse, the 3D evolution of the web, takes off, it could be just as crucial that you're advertising there. So imagine this, right? Metaverse-based advertising in virtual worlds, maybe even creating your own virtual reality, site, store, showroom, right? Talk about very immersive marketing, some of the opportunities that you have there. 2, customer service in the Metaverse. Remember when social media exploded, right? And businesses realized that customers expected quick responses, frequently through using social media apps. Well, here's the scoop, right? If the Metaverse becomes a hangout spot, customers are going to want businesses to interact with them there too, right? It's going to be like social media 2.0, web 2.0. It's going to be the next generation, the next iteration of social media. We're talking about adapting to the Metaverse user behavior as it grows and as it changes. So here's a pro tip to think about, right? Think about asking about Metaverse use in your year-end customer survey. Ask them, hey, where do you see the Metaverse? Do you see it being a part of you, right? If you're B2B, talk to your business clients. Hey, do you foresee using the Metaverse in any of your strategies in the upcoming years? Be proactive with them as you talk with them about it, and then develop a strategy around some of the answers that you get. All right, next. And I love this one, right? Revolutionizing employee training. So let's talk a little bit about training your staff. The Metaverse's immersive nature promises some game-changing training experiences. So imagine learning complex tasks in a virtual realm, where if you make a mistake, it's safe, right? You're not diving into the real thing. You're not damaging things, breaking things, potentially getting injured. Think about your team's training needs and how the Metaverse could step in and make it safer, more efficient, more effective down the line. Let them go through and experience, right, things in a virtual environment. So now, I understand that most of you are probably not bomb techs and not in the line of fire where you have to go out and actually dismantle bombs. But there's a game on virtual reality called Keep Talking and You Won't Explode. I think that's the name of it. Where you're in this virtual room and there's a bomb, and you have a teammate who's not in the virtual reality who's helping give you tips and stuff to disarm the bomb. But guess what? You're not going to die, right? It's not going to actually blow up. That's kind of a gamified version, but there's some fun ideas of how you might be able to do training in the multiverse. All right, next, this is another kind of fun one, remote team collaboration. So remote meetings, remote workers, working from home, all this exploded in COVID, right? And people kind of got sick of Teams and Zoom and all these meetings, right? Virtual meetings, they soared. They're the norm. We're used to them, but you miss out on a lot of stuff, right? You miss out on a lot of, facial expressions, reactions, right? They're just things that's not quite the same as being in the same place in the same room. So having a virtual world team meetings, Microsoft's already working on it, right? They're already integrating apps into virtual spaces, avatars, immersive settings, transform the meeting right into kind of a game where you're in the same room with the people and you're walking around and talking and interacting with each other, similar to being face to face, right? So imagine exploring 3D designs of spaces before they're built, working with clients and customers and coworkers and all of this. So this is all possible. This is all where it's heading. These major corporations are already investing heavily into building out these systems to make it a reality. So what are your digital transformation plans for the next 12 months, right? 24 months, the next 3 years? If you're not sure where to begin and how to build out plans for how you're going to utilize not only the technology that's available now, but what's coming down the pipeline, we can always help. We can help you build that out and kind of help look forward. We'd love to brainstorm that with you. You can reach out to us, schedule an appointment at Eternal Networks on our website, eternalnetworks.com, or you can reach out to us on social media. Also, we did have a free monthly educational webinar yesterday. You can still watch the replay. We covered FTC compliance, the new FTC safeguards rule for non-banking financial institutions like CPAs, financial advisors, car dealers. The list is actually quite extensive. So if you think that you might fall underneath that, where you're working with financial transactions with your clients and collecting their information, FTC compliance might apply to you. You can catch the replay, elevate your knowledge and credibility, and check it out. We'll post that in the chat, and I'll have Emily post that in there. Or you can go to our website under webinars and see that as well as our past webinars. So let me see if there's any comments. I don't see any questions that have come through from live. Hopefully, if any of you are watching this after the fact and do have some questions, comments, you can always reach out to me via direct message. You can call our office. You can email the team and go through our website, ITNet.works. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you next week where hopefully my microphone works from the beginning and we don't have to fix it halfway through. Have a good one.